For this, huh? So the four ways we know for graphing. The first is axis of symmetry, negative b over 2a. Then we substitute that negative b over 2a value into the original problem to get the vertex, the xy ordered pair. Then we substitute any x value into the problem and graph it. However, we recommend 1 to the left or right of the axis of symmetry. Step 4 is to substitute a different x value into the problem and graph it. If you went 1 to the left or 1 to the right, go 2 to the left or 2 to the right for your second one. And last step is to reflect and connect. How do you know what your answer is when you graph it? What's your solution? How do you identify the solution, Sam? Perfect. The solution is the zeros, the zero values, the x-intercepts. And again, graphing is the most work. After we graphed, we moved on to solving by factoring. After we graphed, we moved on to solving by factoring. And solving by factoring, does this work all the time? Does factoring work all the time? No, it's really only for very few problems. You need to be able to look at a factoring problem and you need to be automatically see the factors. If you can't automatically see the factors, skip factoring, unless it says solve by factoring. Because solve by factoring, you need to have it written ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You have to have it in standard form. If it's in standard form, you look for factors of C with a sum of B. And if you can't automatically say, oh yeah, my C value is 100 and my middle value is 20. What times what equals 100, but when you add them together you get 20. 10. You can do that one because you can automatically see it. You don't have to do a whole lot of thinking behind it. But if it's not obvious, you could also factor out the greatest common factor. Maybe that would help. Or look for the X box. And then most likely you're going to solve 2 problems. was the third way we learned? Solve by square roots. And to solve for square roots, what we look for is your b equals 0. Your b value equals 0. There is no middle value. We look for a problem that's written ax squared plus c equals 0. There's no b in the middle. So what we do is we isolate the x squared. What does that mean? Get it by itself, inverse operations. Isolate the x squared. We square root both sides. What do we learn about square roots in this lesson? Yeah, square roots have two values. They have plus or minus values. And then step 4 is 2 solutions plus or minus. And last but not least is what we learned Friday, reviewed this morning. Complete the square. And what we look for in completing the square, the good thing is our rules are pretty small, so I can fit them side by side. We want it in ax squared plus bx equals c. Step 2, we want it in b divided by 2 squared. So your b value divided by 2 and then square that number. Step 3 is to add b divided by 2 squared to both sides. Step 4 is to factor. Step 5 is to square root. And step 6 is to solve 2 times. So we have 4 ways that we have learned so far. We're practicing those 4 today, and then tomorrow we'll learn another way of solving.